you ready to raise your game at Fork Union Military Academy? Sometimes described as the West Point of high schools, Fork Union is a leading college preparatory Christian boarding school for young men grounded in the structure of discipline of the traditional military academy model, and scholarships are available. Fork Union Military Academy's athletic program has produced hundreds of college and professional athletes, including 6 Olympians, 2 Heisman Trophy winners, and more than 120 NFL players. Fork Union Military Academy is a private school and is independent of any direct military affiliation or obligation. Schedule a tour and get started on your journey today by visiting forkunion.com. Fork Union Military Academy. Body, mind, spirit. It's the HoopWise Podcast from New England Basketball Journal. A comprehensive look at the basketball landscape in New England, tracking prospects, recruiting, college, and more, with your hosts, Steve Hewitt and Ethan Fuller.
What's going on, everyone? The NEPSAC Postseason is behind us, and we want to talk about it. Welcome back to another episode of the HoopWise Podcast, part of New England Basketball Journal. I'm Ethan Fuller, here as always with Steve Hewitt, and we have a friend of the pod, friend of the company, Matt Doherty here. He does a lot of great work with the New England Soccer Journal, but Matt's prior just general journalism career has also given him great knowledge of basketball and especially local basketball. So we enlisted him with the NEPSAC boys playoffs at 2 sites to cover a couple games for us. Thank you, Matt, for coming on. How was your weekend on the whole?
Thank you for having me, and thank you for that very kind intro. I'm not an expert like you two, but I try my best. It was really fun. You know, to be honest, I never really got into basketball this year. I feel like with just soccer stuff and other sports, like even pro college, like I just like never this winter, it was just, I never got into it. So I think getting to do these games got me back into it, excited for March Madness, excited for the MIA stuff. Like it was really good to just be in a gym and see some hoopers. And I got 2 pretty good games too, so I can't complain.
Awesome. Yeah, and you are somewhat of a good luck charm, as we're figuring out, because we're recording this episode on a Tuesday, and yesterday 2 of the players you watched helped lead their teams to March Madness. Alex Wilkins now at Furman, Preston Edby now at Hofstra. So you're doing something right down there.
The good luck charm. That's what Steve calls me.
Yeah. St. Mark's and
look out.
Yeah, St. Mark's and Hotchkiss can be some bright futures there if history repeats itself from last year.
Yeah.
Those players are all going to the floor next year.
Exactly. This is an episode about the NEPSAC boys postseason. We're going to kind of rifle through just like quick takeaways from the championship game. If you're on our site over honestly probably the next month, you will see postseason content in some form. But yeah, we just want to get kind of reactions. It's great to have Matt on here and give us a fresh perspective too. We're going to go from B small up through AAA, talk about the games, kind of quick hits on all of these. And so we'll start with Steve, who was at Western New England for B small, AA, and AAA. So we'll open with B small. That was Holderness, Steve's preseason pick. Good work, Steve, getting a pretty convincing.
There you go, Steve.
Yeah. Pretty convincing 74-52 win as the 2nd seed over top-seeded Kingswood Oxford. That started the day off early afternoon. Steve, what did you make of that game?
Yeah, I think I need to pat myself on the back, right, to start the podcast. I think that's how this works. I had 4 of my 5 preseason picks ended up winning the championship, and I did go a perfect 5 for 5 on Super Sunday when we did our picks the morning of. So
you had 4 of the 5 preseason teams, right? Like before the season started?
Yeah.
Okay, Steve.
I mean,
that should be a little bit more. Post that on the website. Let's go here.
Yeah. At least a few of them weren't like complete shocks, but you know, it's a correct pick's a correct pick.
This is a good group here. Yeah.
I mean, picking Newman wasn't. I think anyone could have done that, right?
But yeah, Holderness. Congrats, Class B champions, Class B small champions. Sorry, first year Class B small. 74-52 over Kingswood Oxford. Surprisingly, kind of dominant game in some respects. I think in my prediction, I picked a 4-point game. I thought it would be a little closer than what it ended up being. But Holderness they jumped out to an early 20 to 6 lead. Um, just they play with a ton of pace and shooters everywhere. Their defense was awesome early, defensive activity everywhere. KO came back to make it a 38-31 game early in the second half. And it seemed like the momentum was kind of going KO's favor in that moment, but uh, credit to Holderness, they stayed poised in that moment. They responded. Mason Paquette, who ended up being named MVP, he hit a three, and then he got a steal, and in the same sequence, he made a cut for two to make it 43-31, and then I'm gonna butcher this kid's name, but Philius Romanuskas on the next possession hits a three to go up 46-31, and they kind of cruised from there. Ended up winning by 22 going away. Um, this sorry, Mason Paquette, like I said, MVP, 23 points. Javion Cruz was 17. He was awesome. Some of the finishes he was making around the rim, and kind of just he's like a slippery guard, and was getting around some of the bigger KO players and getting to the rim. And just like a really creative finisher at the rim. So I was really impressed by him. He's a 2027, so he'll be back next year. He's a name to watch, I would say, this summer on the AAU circuit. I don't know who he runs with, um, but yeah, big day for Holderness. This has been such like a connected group all year. I remember seeing them back in November at the Trek of New Balance. They played a morning game against Newman's prep team. And I made the trip over there to catch them because at that point I had picked them to be my preseason pick, and I just wanted to get a closer look at them. And remember they had like a really like fun weekend in Boston. I think like they stayed over. They played the game that morning against Newman Prep, and they won pretty convincingly in that game. And then they went to the Celtics game that day. So this has just been like a really tight group all year, and I know Andre Langley, Javion Cruz have both been like kind of 4-year players in that program. Finn Brennan has made some huge strides as well. He's a 2026 guard going to Connecticut College. Um, but yeah, it sounded like a super imposing, like physical team at all. I don't know if they have a player bigger than 6'4", but so versatile in the ways they can play offensively and defensively. Like I said, they were active hands, deflections, like they were kind of everywhere defensively on Sunday. They actually held King and KO under 60 points. They beat King in the semis, KO in the final, and those are two pretty high-powered offenses. So to hold both those teams under 60 is pretty impressive. Um, but yeah, good on Holderness. They've been impressive all year. I remember they beat Rivers early in the year. They've actually beaten Tilton, St. Paul's, Austin Prep. Really impressive resume. They're in the Lakes region, so they play some really tough competition. Like they played New Hampton, they played Vermont Academy. So they've really challenged themselves, and I think that prepared them for this past week. Woody Campman, the coach, told me that they kind of saved their best for last. They played their best basketball of the year this final week. So really happy for those guys. And yeah, I went at that point. I was 1 for 1 on the day, so I was feeling pretty good about myself at Western New England.
All right, yeah, that's a hot start. And yeah, just even looking through their playoff run, as you alluded to, they won by 22 against Lexington Christian to start it off. They won by 22 again against King in the semifinals. And then, wow, that's actually 3 22-point wins. That's kind of crazy.
Mhm.
But yeah, pretty convincing the whole way. I know you were on top of them, but I guess in general too, like what impressed you the most about just like how this team was so consistent?
Yeah, I think it's the connection of the group, like the chemistry. Like these guys, some of these guys have played together for a while, and then even back when they first got together, like I was talking to some of the players post game, and they got together NEPSAC showcases last summer. Like it seemed like there was like a pretty quick connection with this group, and I know mid January they actually went on like a little 3-game losing streak. And I was looking back at the schedule. those games were to Vermont Academy, Brooks, and St. Mark's. So like not bad losses at all. Like if you're looking at the whole, but Woody Cameron, their coach, said that that little skid kind of changed them. I didn't go into more detail. That'll come soon in a story, but they only lost three more times after that, and one of them was the KUA in Double A. So again, not a bad loss. So I think that kind of maybe changed their mindset, or maybe maybe they figured some things out when you lose like that three in a row. So I don't know. That obviously had a lot to do with it, but yeah, I think just the chemistry and the connection of this group was pretty strong all year.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's cool to see some of these like smaller class schools be able to hang with the big boys in that way. So definitely props to Holderness. Let's travel east a little bit. We're going to go to Worcester Academy. This was a later game, but we'll again kind of stick in class order. St. Mark's in B large takes down Canterbury. That was a 1 versus 2 seed. St. Mark's wins 69-58. I believe, if I read the headline right, first championship since 2012.
70-58, I think.
70-58.
Unless
Okay.
I missed a point.
No, no worries. So yeah, Matt, this was a game you were at, and again, first time for you
Yeah.
seeing these players. What were your initial impressions?
Yeah. Well, St. Mark's, actually, I've seen Luca Palermo play because he was at Andover my last year when I was at the Globe. So he was like a big player for them as an underclassman. And I knew he transferred to St. Mark's, so it was kind of full circle to see him again and winning an NEPSAC title. This was a good game. I mean, I think I was really impressed with St. Mark's. Steve had mentioned, like, you know, they've kind of been the team to beat in Class B large all year. And, you know, you could see why. They move the ball really well. They can shoot. They have, like, their guards, like Alex I'm going to butcher his name, Echeverria.
I think that's
Echeverria.
I think
I
that's
think
pretty
it's
Who
good.
I've
I
heard
think
of.
it's Echevar. Yeah, I think it's
Echevarria.
Echevarria.
You're right.
Yeah.
It was bad. And CJ Farrell, the other guy, like they were really good. Just their ability to like beat defenders, get in the lane, distribute. So I really liked them. And yeah, it was a good game too because I think in the first half it felt like St. Mark's was gonna pull away. Like I felt like they were the better team, and then Canterbury just hung tough and hit some big shots. They got hot from deep, and then all of a sudden they were up 7 with, I think it was like 13 minutes to go, and St. Mark's was definitely on the ropes. Like Canterbury kind of took the momentum, and then they called a timeout and came out and just went guns blazing and kind of flipped the 7-point deficit into an 11-point lead in about 5 minutes, which was a really impressive spurt for them. And then that was kind of it. They coasted from there, but Alex really took over from that point. Like, kind of, he's their senior leader. You know, going to Trinity, which is one of the best Division III programs in the country, and just controlled the game from the point guard position. Just was getting into the lane, spraying it out to shooters, getting to the foul line. So he really kind of controlled that game, and then Donovan Clement was outstanding too, and that's a player Steve was like, he's good, like look out for him. And he made 6 threes, scored 27 points, was named MVP. So like those two really took over in the second half and served as the catalyst during those runs. I was actually sitting next to the Trinity coach at the game, and like with a couple minutes left, he's like, you know, what are Alex's stats? And I'm so bad at keeping assists, so I was like, I have him for 18 points and 2 assists. And he was like, he definitely has more than 2 assists. And I was like, I know, I'm probably like 5 behind there. So I feel like he probably had 7 assists, but just his ability like to control the tempo, he really studied everything when they were down 7 was impressive to watch. And you know, he was their first recruit when Justin Perrin took over the program a couple years ago. Like Alex was the first kid he brought in. So and it is a younger team. Like they have three juniors coming back next year who were starters. So like he, you know, it was fitting for him to go out like that. He was the first one to walk out to get the trophy. So yeah, I really liked, and Canterbury fought hard, man. Like they played hard basketball. They don't have like the guy, like someone who dominates everything. They're kind of have, you know, go 6-8 deep and everyone can shoot and stretch the floor and play. And they kind of had everyone contribute, which was cool. to see, and they didn't let up and kind of had St. Mark's on the ropes for a little there, but credit to St. Mark's for rallying and pulling away late.
Yeah, that's an impressive one again, considering the speed of the run. I don't know. I know it all happened so fast, but like, what do you think changed so much during that run? Was it just Alex like taking over, or was there like a tone shift?
Yeah, I think they started moving the ball a little better on offense and kind of just made the threes. Like I think they weren't truthfully, like, comes down to that. They just weren't making some shots to start the second half and just a little flat. So I think it was more, the energy definitely cranked up. I think it was like, we're down 7 now. There's 12 minutes left. Like it's time to go. And then Clement got really hot from 3. Like he made a couple in a row. And I think that sort of, spurred everything. And I would say the leadership of Echevarria and then kind of getting hot from deep was a big difference during that run.
And Clement had a big dunk. I heard. I was covering the games of Western New England, but I think you wrote a little bit about this.
Yeah, that was kind of like the punctuate. He actually made he had a 4-point play, so he made a 3, got fouled, made the free throw, which I think put it up to like 12 with a couple minutes left. I'm looking at my notes right now. Yeah. And then like the next possession down, he had the alley-oop. Canterbury was pressing at that point. So like they broke the press. He like sprinted down the floor. I think Farrell lobbed the pass and threw it down. And like, that was kind of, the gym went crazy.
Yeah.
It was sort of like, okay, we just won the Class B title.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
I'm curious where Clement's recruitment kind of looks like this spring and summer. Kind of one of the breakout stars of the 27 class. I think he's 6'8". He's got length. He can shoot it. He gets hot. He's gotten hot like that all year in games. That's nothing new. But like that, just combination of length and shooting should be intriguing.
Yeah.
Should be intriguing to a lot of college coaches.
Yeah, he also like showed a little physicality too. Like he's obviously has a slighter frame, but he was like kind of bodying some people down low and had some nice putbacks in the paint, which I think was a nice, showing off a diverse skill set. Like he's not just, hitting threes too. He can finish in the paint and shoot over like bigger guys and taller guys. And because Canterbury had like a 6'10", 6'11" kid, and he was down there. Like he's obviously St. Mark's tallest player. So I think the ability to finish in the paint was nice to see too.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. And then you kind of similar now, having read your game story. We're going to rewind a little bit. The game before this was Class A, the absolutely chaotic Class A bracket that we've kind of been following all season long comes down to we got 5th seed Hotchkiss against 2nd seed Phillips Andover. Hotchkiss is able to hang on and win 66-54. Again, it was a late surge that kind of decided this game. What did you notice down at the end there, Matt?
Yeah. Well, it was neck and neck for the first 28 minutes. Like they did, I think, sorry, Hotchkiss had like a brief lead in the first half, and then Andover came back, and then like no one separated for the first 28 minutes, and it was pretty cool to see. Like the shot making was really good, and they were just kind of going back and forth. Like Hotchkiss would make a shot, Phillips would make a shot, Hotchkiss, like it was just like that for 28 minutes, and I think it was like a 1-point game with 8 minutes left, and then Hotchkiss just took over. And I know I'm going to be talking about spurts a lot today, but that's what the Hotchkiss coach, Joe Busaka, like when I asked him what happened with the run, he was like, we are a really good spurt team, and it's something that we've practiced all year. I'm going to butcher it, but I think it's like a 10-2 drill is what they call it. And it's something he got from another coach, and it's something they worked on all year, which was sort of like having the team. I don't know. You guys can look that up after I'll look it up, but I think he said 10-2. I asked him, I was like, what is it again? And he's like 10-2, but he said it so quick. I think it emphasizes like being fast and being able to like wear down an opponent. And so I think they practice those little spurts where they can like go on runs, and it was fitting that obviously that came to fruition in the title game. And this kid Alonzo Archbold, who Steve had mentioned to me, who was a player to watch. Like he's the one who completely took over during that run. He scored the first 9 points of it. So it was a 1-point game. He scored 9 in a row. to put them up 10, and did it in multiple ways. Like he had a layup, then he like bodied a defender, finished, then he hit a three, and it was like he kind of took over that stretch. Then some other guys got involved, and then he capped it with a big dunk, and it was like, 4 minutes later they're up 12, and that was sort of it. And so like that 4 minutes was literally the only separation from the entire game, but it was enough for Hotchkiss to get the win.
That's really impressive. And is there like, again, from these last two games, I know we talked about Donovan Clement in the previous game, but is there anyone who really kind of surprised you, or you would consider like a breakout player from just across either of those two games?
Yeah, I mean, I think for Hotchkiss, like Jordan, is it Gee or G?
I think it's Gee.
Gee. He was really
Gee.
good.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
Jordan Gee, really good player. I felt like he was probably the best player I saw in the two games. Like he had all the shots. Really good offensive player. Like good size too at 6'5". So he, especially in that first half, like he hit a lot of big shots to kind of keep Hotchkiss back and forth with Phillips. But just a really good player. Like he kind of showed off his whole bag on Sunday, and I was really impressed with him. And then the other kid was Nick Haley on Phillips Andover, was probably the second best player on the floor in that game. Like I think he had 20. And he was just like really good athleticism. Like every time he finished at the rim, it looked like he just like jumped out of a cannon. Like he was just flying above the rim, finishing, hit some threes as well, and like had a good mid-range game. So like he was impressive for Phillips too. And I know they're both uncommitted, which doesn't make sense to me as someone who just like popped in the gym. And I haven't been following it like you guys all year, but I'm like, how are those two kids uncommitted? And then you like, yeah, I was just surprised that those two players still don't have a college home late in their senior year. And they certainly showed, like, to me, that they belong in college basketball. So
Yeah.
I think those two were the two that stood out to me the most. And obviously Archibald's really good too, but I know he's a 2027. He actually like got hurt earlier in the game. Like, the second play of the game, he went down and then left the game for a few minutes and then came back in. But his impact during that run was really big, obviously.
Right.
Gee, on Gee, I have to mention, because I think I mentioned on last week on the podcast, like my favorite note that I've learned over the last week is that he was in the same backcourt as Dylan Harper 2 years ago on their New Jersey high school team. I think it was Bosco High School. And
Yeah.
obviously now Dylan Harper's in the NBA after being the number 2 pick. And now Jordan Gee's winning the NEPSAC championship. So not a bad backcourt. But I thought that was pretty cool.
My guess is he'll make the NCAA tournament next year. If he
I mean,
that Matt Doherty touch, like he's gonna
history holds.
Lead his team to an NCAA tournament.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. The Matt Doherty seal of approval for Jordan Gee. Watch out. Watch out. Him, Nick Haley. You got the St. Mark's guys. Yeah. Overall, this is kind of last question before you let you go. Like, again, this is kind of a different environment for you. I know, like, you typically haven't covered a lot of NEPSAC basketball. What do you like about just this kind of environment? It's very different from MIA, but what kind of stands out to you when you cover?
I think the athleticism and shot making still surprises me. Like I did the games last year, obviously, and then you kind of just show up to the gym, and within the first 10 minutes, like people just make stuff, and it's just like I don't know. I guess I'm not used to that a ton watching. But just like, do you know what I'm saying though? Like just like drives that people finish, and it's just like, oh wow, how did they score that? Like, and I think you see that with like multiple players in each team. It's not just like one guy. So I think that's something that always surprises me when I'm kind of like not expecting them to make as many shots as they do, or the difficulty of the shots as well, where it's like a tough drive in the lane and they're like spinning around and finish it off glass. And it's just like, I love MIA basketball, but I feel like you don't like the degree of difficulty in the shot making is a little less. So I think that always like surprises me. And I think Phillips and Hotchkiss were like two really good teams at that. Like they have guys who could just get buckets and have like a wide range skill set. So I think that's always my biggest takeaway watching the NEPSAC. And I also like I feel like they all play well together too. Like there's not there's not much hero ball in that, and maybe that's a credit to the coaches, but also the players. Like, I feel like they share the ball well, and they really run sets, and the ball doesn't stick, and I really like watching that as a spectator. Just kind of like free flowing, and I think like the pecking order, and Hotchkiss talked about this because they have a lot of guys who can just like go get a bucket on their own, but they had to learn this year to like play with each other and kind of ride the hot hand and take, like, some good scorers have to take a back seat on days. So I think that was cool to see as well, that like they're willing to do that. And I think the whole league, like, the 2 games I saw this year, the 2 games I saw last year, I feel like that's always true. Like they do move the ball really well and share and run a real offense, and I like seeing that.
Yeah, I think that's really cool. That's good detail. All right. Thank you, Matt. Your coverage again was awesome. Read it on the site. And thank you for the analysis on here. I think it's a good, fresh perspective. So we'll send you off, but as we get to the last 2 classes. But yeah, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me, guys. You guys do
Thanks, Matt.
the best job in the region. Keep it up, and really love reading your stuff as a coworker. So keep it up, and enjoy MIA this weekend.
Yes, we definitely will. Thank you. Take care.
Thanks,
All right,
Matt.
see you guys.
All right, let's wrap this up. We got 2 more classes. One of these, again, we're going back to Western New England. One of these was kind of a blowout that we'll hit on quickly. But the Cushing game, I'm spoiling a little bit. Cushing beat Cheshire 64-55 in the Class AA game. I know we were excited about a lot of this class too. So Steve, what did you notice there?
Are we doing Newman first or Cushing first?
Let's do Cushing first. We'll keep going up.
Okay. So that was the final game of the day. Yeah, probably the most exciting game of the day. Like like you said, a couple blowouts before that. But yeah, 64-55 Cushing over Cheshire. Yeah, Cushing, like, they went on a little run to end the first half, but they never could gain enough separation, I think, to like be comfortable. And that's a huge credit to Cheshire. And I know we've talked a ton about Cheshire and the job Jim McCarthy's done there with his guys and the way they play and how hard they play. I think if it was any team besides Cushing on Sunday, uh, like Cheshire would have been like a worthy champion in my opinion. Like they were both that good this season. But yeah, Cushing, yeah, like I said, they were up like 7-8. I feel like the entire second half, and then Cheshire like made a little run at the end. They cut it to 4 on this like insane like up and under layup that Aiden McGuire made over Theo Adema. As you know, not the easiest task in the world. I don't know how big Aiden is. I think he's probably like 6'1" or 6'2", and Theo's obviously a 7-foot high major player. So that was like one of the most impressive plays I've seen. I saw all weekend. And that cut it to 4 with just like a little over 2 minutes left. But then Cushing kind of put the clamps down. Like, that's just who they are. Defense is where their identity is, and they made enough stops in the final 2 minutes to secure the victory. Ryan Mesh hit free throws down the stretch. He is just like the difference maker in like any game that Cushing plays. Like we obviously we've talked so much about him. 23 points. He was named the MVP. He kind of took over in the second half, like almost took it upon himself in some ways, offensively and defensively. He was grabbing steals. He was active with deflections and causing turnovers, which he doesn't get enough credit for. Just like the way he plays defense and how hard he works for like as gifted as he is offensively. But offensively, we kind of saw everything that we've seen the last 2 years with Mesh. Like, he had this like class. I call it a classic Mesh play where he gets to the rim for a 3-point play, gets the contact, and like goes like flying to the deck. And I'm like always scared, like, is this kid gonna get up? He's gonna like break. He's gonna like break something, but he never does. But me and Brad joke about Brad Feldman joke about that all the time. Just like he is just like unbreakable. And he he had this crazy step back three. Like he was just like in his entire bag. And talking to James Cormier, the head coach, after the game, talking about mesh, and um, he was just like, if he's not the best player I've ever coached, he's the best like big game performer he's ever coached. And this is a program that's had, Abuka Corey, Bensley Joseph, like Chase Ross, that some of these like high major D1 guys that have gone on to do big things. And Ryan Mesh is just kind of like in his own class when it comes to just coming up big in the biggest moments. Whenever you need a bucket, whenever you need a big play, he does it. Um, but yeah, I'm kind of bearing the lead, but Cushing 17-0 in Class AA this year. I don't know if that's ever been done before. Like it's hard to kind of search the archives for like specific records from teams. Like I know like Tilton in the late 2010s, like just 2010s in general, like had that run of championships. I don't know. I'm not sure if they ever won undefeated, but I was talking to James post game, and he's been involved with NEPSAC for a long time. He couldn't remember if he's seen that. Um, and that's just like impressive in and of itself. Obviously, like Cushing gets everyone's best shot every game. Like I kind of made this point to James. Like you have to have like a certain mentality and consistency about your team and program and culture to take that shot every game and like still win. Like everyone kind of, even though they haven't won the last few years, like they've still been at the top of AA, and like everyone knows like they were NABL champions last year. They're going to play in the Garden. They're playing in the national prep tournament, so like they're like always kind of the standard in AA, even if they don't necessarily win the championship. So to get that best shot from everybody and like still come out like and win is a big credit to James and the culture he's built, and kind of the leadership he has. Like obviously talk about Ryan, Theo, Brady O'Connell, Jack Hines. Could just go down the list. Like they've dealt with, I talked about this, but they've dealt with injuries all year. Guys step up. Like Elliot Erickson went down with an injury midseason. David Flores John, who wasn't getting like a ton of minutes before, like goes into the starting lineup and doesn't put up big numbers, but he's important to the success and the identity of what they do. Um and yeah, like just a team that like buys in and knows their roles. And um that's what a prep program like should be in a lot of ways, just because like you're getting these guys prepared for the next level. So it's cool to see the fruits of that labor kind of rewarded for Cushing. First championship since 2017 in AA. So good stuff from them. I do want to shout out Cheshire. Like we've talked about them a lot. Jim McCarthy, friend of the pod. Breakthrough season for them. Obviously comes up a little short, but um, it was notable. Like James Cormier told me post game, like they might be one of the best teams Cushing has had on their schedule in terms of like basketball IQ and like making basketball decisions, and just like the way they play is just like so hard to defend. And this is like Cushing obviously plays like Putnam Science, Blair Academy, like some of these national prep programs. So it's like really, really high praise for Cheshire and the job they were able to do and the turnaround that they were able to accomplish under McCarthy. And obviously they see a few guys lead the program. John Spinoza was excellent going to Trinity. Justin Brown also going to Trinity, but they'll bring back a few guys in the 27 class next year to kind of build around. So I'm excited to see where Cheshire goes from here. So yeah, that was a fun championship game compared to the previous two. I was kind of hoping that would be, I was kind of sensing that would be the case, knowing that Cheshire and Cushing played close in the regular season game that was played at Cheshire. Cushing won by 5 in that. And they had to come back from a double-digit deficit to win that game. So I knew this would be like a high-level game. The atmosphere was pretty good. Fans from both teams, and high energy. Both teams, like they both brought it for a championship level performance. So, but yeah, Cushing 2026 AA champions.
Yeah, and we talked all year about how great AA was, and to go undefeated in that class is really, really impressive. So that was the Class AA championship. Now, again, we're moving slightly, not quite in a time order here, but finishing off Class AAA, Newman, as we kind of expected all season long, they've largely had their run with the AAA schools, capped off a pretty impressive season in New England with a 101-68 win over sixth-seeded Hoosac. And again, credit to Hoosac for making it all the way there. I know their run was really impressive, but not really a surprise here. What did you notice about just how Newman dominated once again?
Yeah. First of all, I was a little confused why this game was the middle game of the, like last year we had AA and then AAA to finish it off. And I was confused why AAA would be in the middle, considering it's the longest. Like they had the 20-minute halves, and but that's a complaint for another day. I had a lot of, as we know, I had some issues with some of the things that happened over the last week. But no, just dominant. Like you said, 101-68. I think they scored 100 or more in 6 of their last 9 games, and capping it with the AAA championship, which is just absurd. Just the high-powered offense and the shooting that they have, and that was kind of the biggest difference maker, I think, on Sunday. Like, this game was actually tied at 19 early. Hoosac was making a good fight of it, but Newman ended the first half on a 21-8 run. They went up 13 and kind of cruised from there. I think just their depth kind of wears teams out. Most teams that they play. 61 commits in the 2026 class, and then you add a bench full of 2027s who are also Division I prospects. Like, they can just hit you in so many ways and go for longer, and that's kind of been a staple for Jackson Johnson and his program the last few years. Like, as we know, Newman's kind of a newish program on the kind of the hierarchy of NEPSAC basketball, and I think that's, in his short time of being a head coach, like, that's something he's noticed is needed, especially with the schedule that Newman plays and the national tournament schedule, NEBL schedule. Like, all these, they play like 40 plus games every year, and they know they need to have a deep bench in order to compete regionally and nationally. So that just puts them in a different weight class compared to a lot of teams in AAA, and Hoosac is no exception. I think Hoosac, credit to them, like they fought, and to get to the final was an amazing accomplishment for them. But I think maybe they were a little gassed in the second half. Really only like 7 or 8 rotational players played in this game. And Newman just had another year in the second half. They went 17 for 34 from 3 a day after going 9 for 39 in the semifinals.
Wow.
So I think I said in my predictions, like, they were due for a big shooting game. That's was one of their biggest strengths. And but credit, I mean, in the New Hampton game, they even though they had a rough shooting game, they still won by 29, and that was a lot to do with, like, the offensive glass and kind of effort plays. And in this game, just from the jump, like, the 3-point, you could tell the 3-point shooting streak was there. Lewis O'Keefe had 22 points, 6 3-pointers. He had 4 in the first 6 minutes. He was like he had a heat check in, like, the first, like, 6 minutes of the game, which was wild to watch. Lucas Morello was the MVP, 25 points, second straight MVP for him in the title game. Quinn Costello, 18 points. I think he had 4 3-pointers. But yeah, I think that was the biggest difference maker. Just a 3, like, they weren't having a ton of success going inside. Hoosac's bigs, Tucson Eric and Nadalo Noble, both uncommitted in 2026 class. Tucson Eric's 6'8", Noble 6'10", and I was just going on his Twitter page. I think it's a 7'6" wingspan.
What?
And it says 9'2" standing reach.
Yeah.
Which is just absurd. I'm curious where he ends up landing, because he's pretty raw, but, like, just his physical attributes
would be so intriguing to any program. Like, he has such long arms. Like, I'm sitting next to Robbie Hoden, the assistant coach at Leslie, who does a lot of work in the prep space. And he was like remarking it, just like his arms are down to like his like past his knees. And I think he had probably like 6 or 7 block shots in this game. So like Newman wasn't having a ton of success going inside naturally with him in the paint and him at the rim. So credit to them for finding a ton of open shots outside. Some of O'Keefe's were actually pretty contested. And I think he was just on a different playing field in this game. But yeah, Newman rolls 168, second straight AAA championship. Beginning, I think they're 34-3, 35-3. Actually, as of this recording, we're recording on a Tuesday morning. They just beat Darrow in the national prep quarterfinal, the Sweet 16. So I think they're now 35-3. And speaking of the national prep tournament, depending on when you listen to this, like Newman still might be in the national tournament, but that was a big talking point post game, is that this team has bigger goals than just AAA this year. I think last year they sort of they emptied the tank and trying to win AAA for the first time in program history last year. And if you remember, like epic overtime game against New Hampton, I don't think they had the legs. Like they celebrated really hard for that game. Like they really wanted AAA last year. And I think they lost their first round game in the national prep tournament. Like 2 days. It was like, it's such a tough turnaround. It's like 2 days to do that. And this year, like the standards are a little bit higher. Like they've won AAA. AAA was still like a big goal for them. And they celebrated it appropriately. But there was like a feeling in the locker room was like, oh, we're not done yet. Like we want to win the national championship this week. So depending on when you listen to this pod, we'll know what the results of this were. We'll see. Like that wraps up Thursday with the national championship that night. But still important for them to win AAA. This is the first back-to-back. I wrote this in my story. First back-to-back in AAA since 2018-19. And the head coach, or the team that did that, was Northfield Mount Herman under Coach John Carroll, who is now at Newman, as we know, as the advisor there. So they were happy to kind of keep that accomplishment sort of in-house, is what they called it, to do it with JC. And I do have another note I need to pass along because I haven't been able to write this at all, and I didn't put this anything, but the John Carroll coaching tree, big Sunday for JC. I know he was really proud of Sunday. He had 3 coaches on Sunday win championships from his like coaching tree. St. Mark's, Justin Perrin, James Cormier, Cushing, Jackson Johnson at Newman, all were assistants for him at NMH. So really cool moment for JC to see all 3 of his kind of proteges win championships on the same day. And I need to shout out Con McBride, who's the head coach of the Newman prep team, also under the JC coaching tree. They won a championship last week, the Newman prep team. So big week for John Carroll.
Wow.
Also friend of the pod. But I thought that was a cool note, that all those guys won championships under sort of JC's tutelage.
Yeah, that's an impressive tree, man.
Yeah.
All right. I think that'll wrap it up. Any kind of final big picture thoughts on the weekend? Cool things you noticed that we didn't get to?
No huge big picture thoughts. I was thinking of like last year was our first year covering the NEPSAC championships, and it was such a high standard that was set with the level of games that I covered at Western New England last year. We had like 2 epic games last year, with Worcester Academy being Cats in the final minutes, and then obviously the Newman New Hampton overtime thriller that was just like an insane game from start to finish. And we did, like, it's hard to match those level of games, but we didn't really get that this year. But I mean, I think that might be a credit to just Newman and Cushing, like just being like ahead of the pack so much this year. I do like, I want to give out like the coaching jobs that were done, like all 4 coaches in double A and AAA deserve a lot of credit. Like obviously Jackson with what he's been able to do at Newman, and then Hoosac after their 3-win season last year. Alex Miljanovic promoted to the first team. He was coaching the second team last year. He was promoted to the first team this year, and then they turn around and make the NEPSAC championship after beating St. Thomas More Vermont Academy on the road. That's an awesome accomplishment for that program. I'm excited to see where Hoosac kind of goes from here. Maybe and build on that. I know they're really happy, even though they lost in the championship. I think they were really proud of what they accomplished. And shout out to Brad Feldman, who told us on the preview pod back in November to watch out for Hoosac. So we need to make a trip out there, I think, next year, Ethan.
I guess we do.
With the girls team having won as well. So big weekend for Hoosac. And then in AA with DeJow James, his son at Cushing, and then Carthy at Cheshire, and the turnaround they were able to do. Like, just really impressed with those programs and the standards that were set for those programs this year. So that was kind of maybe a big picture thought.
Yeah, I think that was the theme. Again, not with every class, but again, the fact that you went 4 or 5 with the preseason picks, I think it was like the teams that we thought would dominate lived up to the hype with, like, they were dominant this year, which is, I know, like, it's not always the most exciting game result, but it's cool to see, like, just to marvel at the talent on some of these rosters again. So yeah, that wraps up for boys. We got a lot more basketball still. The MIA championships are this weekend. That is always an awesome time. And then we got some fun stuff in the works for spring. I'm not even going to talk about AAU yet. I'm not ready to turn that page, but
the login at basketballjournal.com, we have a ton of content coming. Like, it's just insane what we're about to produce. So
and the postseason mag. If you want to get that postseason mag, that's one of my favorites. So definitely
it'll be fun.
Yeah. All right. So for Steve Hewitt, for guest Matt Doherty, and everyone else, I'm Ethan Fuller. Thank you so much, and we will see you on the courts soon.